Every home has things it needs, things that need to be maintained, fixed, or replaced. The Home Depot is here to help you get it done. You can easily find what you need on our app, order it online with the push of a button, and have it brought to your door with free delivery on over 1 million items. We have the essentials you need, the online know-how you may need to do it yourself, and low prices that make it all possible. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Keeping your vehicle going keeps you going, and these days, you can't be too prepared. At Advance Auto Parts, we're here whenever and however you need us. Take our free battery testing, for example, with no appointment necessary. And if it turns out you need a new one, we'll even install it for free with batteries starting at just $79.99. We also offer curbside pickup, so you can have any order brought right out to your vehicle. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is allowing youth leagues to start practice next week, which is great news for many leagues we have in the area. We have seen some parks removing the bleachers next to fields to continue practicing social distancing. In recruiting news, Coach Shinnick and the UWF Argos picked up a big-time transfer with former Mercer wide receiver David Durden. Durden was a 2018 FCS third-team All-American and last season led the Bears with 45 receptions for 647 yards and 4 touchdowns. Durden joins Key Wetzel, the former Oregon State linebacker of Argos, looking to be an impact right away. In high school recruiting news, interest for Pensacola Catholic star Demarius McGee is heating up. The 2021 recruit, McGee, has over 27 offers at this time, including Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. McGee just recently got an offer to play in the most prestigious high school game, the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. A game played on NBC pits the top 100 seniors against each other. For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies, and rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, for a man age 45 non-tobacco user, it's $1 million of coverage at $75 per month, level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Welcome to Mo!
Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the most food mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. You know, snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Moe's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Moe's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix grocery store.
Here are the ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM contest rules. You can win one prize per household per contest in any 30-day period, unless specified by individual contest rules. All prizes are non-transferable, non-redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other contest prize. Prizes must be redeemed within a 30-day period of winning and must be 18 years of age or older to win. For a complete list of rules, visit ESPNpensacola.com.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody is doing well, of course, staying safe, and look, continuing to practice social distancing. We're, like I always mention, look, we're moving forward in a time. I know Memorial Day weekend coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. But listen, just continue doing what got us to this point. Let's not backtrack. Continue to use common sense in all this, and you know what? We'll be just fine. We're getting positive signs. Look, all over the world, but especially when we're talking about sports right now, we're getting some positive signs as well. And if you're tuning into this show, well, you're here for some football. And listen, before we get started here, as we always do, I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. Look, we thank them each and every day, and it's been brought to light what they do each and every day right here because of COVID-19. Now, you know what? They put themselves on the front lines each and every day. We are so grateful for that. We thank them so much. As I said before, look, I have friends that are first responders, from ENT to firefighters to nurses. I have friends that are on all these aspects of life right now, and it's really heartwarming to hear the community supports them the way they do. You know, getting stories from these first responders about all the great things that people like you, the community, are doing for them in this time. It's so grateful. It's so awesome. It's great to hear. But, I also want to mention, listen, the essential workers out there, the grocery store employees, truck drivers, anybody and everybody. If you're a restaurant that's been open this entire time, we thank you guys for being open to try to make our lives as normal as possible in a time right now. We can't thank you enough. And look, we're starting to move forward. Like I said, we're not there yet, but we're getting back to some normalcy in our life. But look, Coach, I know I say this every single day, but look, we got to get first things first. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well, and as always, I echo your thoughts and sentiments about the first responders and those who provide us with the life that we have today, despite the odds that they face of getting this virus.
Yeah, it's really great. And listen, Coach, you know that my significant other is a nurse at a local hospital, and one thing that she told me today is, listen, we had 5 COVID patients, and now 4 of them were on ventilators, and now they have 4, of course, and they're without ventilators. So that's always great news. I know, they're still in the hospital, but it's always great to see signs like that of people beating it. Look, she told me a story of a 91-year-old woman that got it, and she said, listen, I'm not done yet. I'm still going to live. And she beat it, and she walked out of the hospital. And, that's the glorious thing in all this. It's the good stories like that, but it's people like the nurses and the first responders that are able to give us a little bit of normalcy in our life. But, Coach, look, I know we got a action-packed show today. Pat Dooley's going to join us after our first break at 12:15 here. Of course, if you don't know Pat Dooley, shame on you. But, look, he's been a sports writer for over 3 decades. Look, he works regularly in radio and television. He's been a staff writer for the Gainesville Sun since 1987. And once again, like Tony Barnhart, we had Tony Barnhart on the show earlier this week. Mr. Dooley is one of the most well-respected men in college football, and of course, he's written a few books here. Game of My Life, some great stories about the Florida greats, the Florida Gators, and then 100 Things Florida Fans Should Know Before They Die. I've actually read that book, and that's a pretty awesome book. So it's going to be great to have him on the show, Coach. I know he's a great friend of yours, but until we get to that time here, we got a couple things I want to mention. Look, some big stories. Look, starting off, of course, it's not sad yet. You hate it for anybody to get it at this point. But ex-Auburn football coach Pat Dye, he's 80 years old, of course, tests positive for coronavirus. And, you want to bring it up just because of what Pat Dye means in general. He's a fantastic human being, great Auburn coach, former AD as well. But him getting coronavirus, he was not hospitalized. I want to make this clear for people, just in case you just saw the headline. He was not hospitalized for the coronavirus. He's had some issues relating to his kidneys that he was already in the hospital, and his son made it clear that, listen, this was days ago that he was tested and he got caught positive, and this was just a precautionary test, that he actually plans on leaving in a few days to get out of the hospital. Everything is all good. They want to make sure people know that, but they also appreciate the support. Coach, Pat Dye, he's a tough son of a gun, and, we hate to hear anybody getting it, but it's good to hear that he's hopefully in the next couple days getting out of the hospital.
Well, absolutely. We hate to hear that about Pat, but listen, he's as tough as they come, and I would certainly guess that he's going to be out of the hospital soon, and he'll be fine. And Pat's a great guy, and we wish him the very best.
Absolutely. He's always fun to talk to, and like you said, he's as tough as they come. But, Coach, I want to mention something that happened, of course, yesterday, the big news. I laugh at it just because the NCAA coming out. Look, a lot of conferences were already working on getting their players back. LSU talked about, we're bringing our players back June 1st. The SEC is going to vote, I believe, tomorrow on whether they bring their players back June 1st or June 15th. Now, we assume it'll probably be June 1st with the way things are looking, but regardless, they're moving forward. And, Coach, look, the NCAA, they voted voluntary on-campus activities can resume in football and men's and women's basketball starting June 1st. My question on this, it's not a surprise that this happened, but, Coach, was this more of a way of the NCAA just kind of getting out of everybody's way at this point? Or, because, when it comes to power, it is what it is at this point. We hear Power 5 conferences talking about leaving, but was this more of the NCAA just getting out of the way?
Oh, I think so. That's one way of putting it, getting out of the way, or they had no choice, really, is the bottom line. They really had no choice. These conferences were going to open the doors and start paving a way to gradually get back into this on June 1st. I don't think there's any question about that. I know that Big 12, I think, has already voted, Big 10, rather, has already voted, and they voted June 1st. NCAA now says June 1st, and I'm certain the SEC tomorrow will announce June 1st. So it's just a fait accompli, really.
Yeah, Coach, one thing that you mentioned yesterday for people, just to make this very clear, for those that may be opposed to this, look, understanding that they can come back, that does not mean they're going to be practicing and things are going to go back to normal. There's a lot of things that get involved in this, and that's why I think it's more important that they go back June 1st, because there's going to be a ton of differences when it's all said and done, when these players come back and report to their schools, just because of all the guidelines they're going to have to follow. So it's going to take a lot more time to get things done than usual. Look, we talked about it yesterday, the article that had come out in Sports Illustrated that had talked about some of the new norms, whether, coaches and players, having gloves and face masks when they start out, benches in the weight rooms being 20 feet apart, doing exercises that, you don't have to have a spotter with. And I know that it seems kind of contradictory for some of the stuff, but there's a lot of things these guys can do, but just getting them back, it's going to take some time to get used to. And so it's pretty important that these guys get back as soon as they can. But I just want to make that very clear because, hearing people talk about this, they're like, how can they bring these kids back in this environment? Well, Coach, I think it's important. You mentioned it yesterday that these kids will probably actually be better off being in an environment like that that's controlled instead of being out there where they are, whether they're hometown or whatever they're doing, trying to train and things like this, because everything is pretty much like a halo around them. So, Coach, do you still feel that way, that this is going to work out and this is actually a better environment for them?
I have no question about it. Now, just think about 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids out there at home. Tell me they're going to sit there in a house and totally quarantine themselves away from other people and away from things that are going on. Not going to happen. That's one that you can mark down for sure. It's not going to happen. They're out. They meet with their buddies and I'm sure they see their girlfriends and they have some way of getting out and getting back to some type of contact with people. I think that's for sure. I think if you get them into a discipline situation environment, and then certainly pound home the importance of maintaining some type of discipline here if they're going to play football this fall. Otherwise, they're not going to play. And I think if you get that, that's the only place you're going to get it across to them is in that type environment. And if you get them back there, I think you got less chance of being exposed, and they certainly need to be able to condition themselves in some way, and their strength problems that they run into on the field if they don't have the adequate time to get ready. So I think it's important for them to do that. Now, they're not going to get out there and be practicing football on June 1st or June 15th, and that'll be sometime in July before they get back on the field, probably mid to late July, when they would start anyway, getting ready for the fall. So I think it's a good move to make this happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, Coach, it's something that these players are going to have a lot to get used to, as well as the coaching staffs, because it comes down to we've never been through anything like this, so therefore everything will be different. Listen, Tony Barnhart said he believes we'll see football, but it'll be something like we've never seen, and that goes for everybody that's involved in this, including players and coaches. So, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens with this. But the one thing I will mention before we go to break, Coach, look, the NCAA, they tabled the one-time transfer proposal to early next year. So, look, this is something that we had heard. They were going to re-vote on this in late May. They did vote on it. They voted to actually move it back to January. Coach, right now, look, I know that we kind of feel the same on this about this one-time transfer proposal, but right move to move this to January, because now is not the right time to have this going on. Is that the way you feel?
Yes, I certainly do.
Yeah,
I certainly do feel that.
It's something that, I just think now's not the right time with everything going on, and we'll see. Of course, if for people that are like, well, what about if the Pac-12 doesn't play? Well, look, the NCAA will have limitations where they can let guys transfer out, but as of right now, I think that type of move needs to be something to be talked about later on. Let's get through this year. There's enough problems going on right now. Schools in general don't need this, and I don't think the NCAA wants to deal with it as well. But listen, we're up against a break here. When we come back, well, Pat Dooley's going to join us. Of course, Pat Dooley, great sports writer, author. He's done about just about everything that you can do when it comes to college sports and writing. Works for the Gainesville Sun. Is going to join us right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe. Listen, we're talking some football with you, and we have a special guest joining the show, Pat Dooley. Listen, he's been a sports writer for over 3 decades. You've heard him on radio, TV, done just about everything when it comes to college football, works with the Gainesville Sun as well. A great author. You know, I told you before in the show that he's written a couple books here, Game of My Life, which is great stories about the Florida Gators, some Florida greats there. And then the book that I've read, 100 Things Florida Fans Should Know Before They Die. And listen, I read it, and I'm not even a Florida fan, and I absolutely loved it. But, Coach, listen, I know he's a great friend of yours. I'll go ahead and let you take the reins, my friend.
Well, it's great to have Pat on with us. He's been very gracious about coming on this show and always outstanding information. Pat, thanks so much. And let me get right to the first point here. I guess the NCAA, knowing they had no choice, and they voted for a June 1st startup, which means just a phased-in way to maybe get some of these programs at least started and some discipline programs underway so that they can control the kids. But what do you hear about that and anything else that's going on about the startup?
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like football's back, but there won't be any footballs because you won't be able to do a lot of that work. It's basically a conditioning thing, and it's voluntary. You don't have to come back. I think these kids are all ready to get back, and they're chomping at the bit to work out. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who have said that a lot of the players around the country are nowhere near football shape because you can give them stuff to do, but you can't be there to make sure they do it. And they want to kind of help them get into shape. And obviously, everywhere they're going to have to do a lot of special things in terms of, making sure it's a safe environment. I mean, I don't even know if you open locker rooms in a lot of places. So I know that some schools have already talked about not doing that. You might just do it all outside and guys show up, and you probably are going to have to house them somewhere. There's still a lot to figure out how they're going to do it, but I think it's just the first step. The SEC actually, the presidents are going to have a Zoom call tomorrow. There's not going to be actually a formal vote, but they may vote. They may just say, hey, look, the NCAA said this. Let's go ahead and go along with it. I think we all know the SEC's been right at the forefront and trying to make sure they have a football season this year. So I would not be surprised. It's a question of whether they decide on June 1st or June 15th is what I'm told, when to allow these young men to come back.
Well, yeah, but it's funny. Coach O over at LSU has already said his kids are coming in June the 1st. I don't think anybody's going to go over there and tell him they can't. But I think that it's just a rubber stamp coming the 1st. I think it's the best thing for them. They got a better chance to protect these kids than by having a disciplined, organized program that they can get into rather than, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. they're going to be out in the streets at home. There's just no question about it. You're not going to keep them quarantined. So I think it'll be a safer environment, and nobody would even pretend that there's going to be anything near football until mid to late July, when they normally start football season anyway. But there's a heck of a lot they can do between June 1st and July the 15th, let's say. And so I think it's an extremely good idea. Let me move to
where would you rather have your players? Would you rather have them at the local gym or under your supervision? So I think that's, even with the gyms opening around this state, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm still way too nervous to go to my local gym, which I go to all the time, believe it or not. Like one of my favorite things about going to my gym is going to the steam room. There is no way I'm going in there for years. But, that's the way a lot of us feel. But, if you got a player going to Gold's Gym or whatever, or any place, any kind of gym, look, they're going to take some precautions, but you can't be around him and do things. So there's no question. I think it's a great idea. And it's a great plan to have them come back. Look, we'll see what happens during the next 3 months. The next 3 months are going to decide whether we have a season, whether we have a season that starts on time, whether we have a season that starts later, whether we have a season that, drags into, where we end up with a spring season. That has been a lot of conjecture. Everything is speculation right now. All we're doing is trying to take step one. This is like I know that they've talked about, the government's talked about the phases. This is phase one of getting a football season going.
You're so right. And I'll tell you, it's like the other obstacles that have to be overcome are just terrible. I mean, colleges is going to be much more difficult than for the NFL. The NFL will have a much easier path. Not that it's going to be easy, but they'll have an easier path to play football than will colleges. The big thing is students on campus, allowing people into the stadiums, the traditions and all the other things involved in college football are going to be tough if they can't find some way to adhere to them. And I don't know how they're going to do that right now, other than also the other thing is the financial effect in college football based on attendance, selling tickets, and what they do when they're in the stadium. But that's something that's going to have to be a major obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, and it won't be overcome completely no matter what happens. We're not going to have a full season. We're not going to have full stadiums no matter what. There's going to be a loss of revenue of some kind, but what they're trying to do is minimize it. I think I read something today that 14% of the amount of revenue that a football team generates is ticket sales. And the rest comes from a lot of other areas, including television, which is the big one. That's the biggest thing that college football is trying to do, is make sure they have television, that television money coming in, so that they can still make a lot of money. Plus, you're still counting on donors and things like that, and merchandising. But all that stuff is going to be down. And look, okay, we're not going to have a normal football season. We're not going to have a perfect, ideal football season. It is going to be weird, and it's going to be, who knows, it could go 7 games and then we shut it down. But you've got to have some kind of product on the field in an ideal way. You get it done so that you're able to play some football games, maybe an entire schedule, but maybe not. You're not going to have full stadiums, and you shouldn't allow full stadiums. But at least you're going to generate something, because, as you know, the economic model for college sports is very fragile, and it's based on football. So they've got to figure a way to try to get this done without endangering any lives.
Well, that's true. There's no doubt about that. And the other thing is that from the standpoint of this country and the psyche of this country, we've got to have football. I mean, can you imagine if there's no college football, no NFL football played? I think even a comedian yesterday on television said you would have you'd have anarchy in the streets if that happened. Now, that's going a bit far, but I think you would have some major social problems if there was no football, just like Franklin Roosevelt in World War II insisted on them playing baseball, not giving up baseball in 1942 or 43 for the good of the country. And I think we've got a similar situation here. But to move on from that, because I know your time is limited, let me ask you a couple of questions that about the SEC East in particular. Georgia lost, I think, 16. No, LSU lost 16 players. Georgia lost 4 of their offensive linemen and a quarterback who was a winner, an absolute winner. Now they're hyping this transfer quarterback from Wake Forest at Georgia, but it looks to me that this is an ideal time for Florida to take back control of the East. What are your thoughts?
Well, the opportunity is there, but the bottom line is that Georgia has out-recruited Florida, for the last 3 or 4 years with Kirby Smart. They've done a great job. They've got really good players. Florida's done a great job of recruiting. They've improved it, and they've done well in the transfer portal. But Georgia still has a slight edge, I think, in terms of players. There is a little bit of a gap there. I think Florida has a slight edge in terms of coaching, keeping that coaching staff together the way they have. And Dan Mullen, I don't think anybody's better prepared or will be better prepared when the season starts, because I think he's one of the great coaches in terms of getting his guys. Look at what he did with Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask comes into a game in the fourth quarter. It's like he started every game at that point. So that was pretty amazing. But yeah, there's an opportunity there for Florida. But the bottom line is they're going to have to beat Georgia. That's number one. But they've got to kind of get over that hump. But Jamie Newman is a really talented guy. He might be great. He might be the All-SEC quarterback. He might also be a total bust, because when you look at what his numbers were against the better opposition and last year, they weren't great. Now he's surrounded by Wake Forest talent. Now he's going to be surrounded by Georgia talent. So I think the jury's totally out on him. I think the jury's out on Miles Brennan at LSU, and the jury's not out on Kyle Trask. And so again, that's an advantage for Florida.
Right. It's an interesting thing. You had to rate the quarterbacks right now coming back in the SEC. I almost feel like, I do feel like Trask would probably be rated number 1.
Yeah, there's some people that'll say Kellen Mond, but I haven't seen. I mean, Kellen Mond is talented. He runs an offense with one of the best minds in college football, but they weren't great on offense last year, I didn't think. But he's a dual-threat guy, and a lot of people are going to say him. Some people are going to say Jamie Newman. I think those are the only 3 guys that would get probably a lot of attention in those terms. But I think Florida would rather have Kyle Trask not be the All-SEC quarterback preseason and not be ranked that high, just to keep the expectations down. They know what their expectations are, is to win the SEC and play and get into the college football playoffs. So, but yeah, I think Trask. When I vote, I don't know what we're going to be dealing with for SEC Media Days. I have no idea whether it's going to be virtual or on the phone or actually in person, or whether we're going to have individual media days at every school. We'll have to wait and see. But when I vote, I'm going to definitely vote for Kyle Trask, because I don't see enough consistency with Kellen Mond, and I don't know about Jamie Newman. I think that's a pure speculative guess as far as if you're voting him all SEC. If you think he's going to be a good quarterback, that's fine. But until he plays a game in this conference, it's a different animal here.
Yeah, before Kellen Bonds or anybody else, I would take Mac Jones at Alabama. I think he's a good quarterback. And Kellen Bonds.
Yeah, I think he'll be good. Yeah, and again, he's got some really good receivers there, and we know what Nick Saban does, so he might be. He might have a good year. I think the league has had a real shift in quarterback play from last year when it was so impressive. When you had obviously Fromm and Burrow and Tua and all those guys that were in this league. I think a lot of people had to change quarterbacks. You know, Vanderbilt lost all four of the quarterbacks they had on their roster. They had to bring in all new guys. Some JUCO transfers, for example. You know, Kentucky lost what we thought was going to be a really good quarterback last year, and they ended up with a running back or a wide receiver quarterback. He had a great year, and they got to the more wins than I think anybody thought they would because of that. But now that guy's back. Is he going to be good? So there's a lot of unknowns out there in the SEC at quarterback, more than there maybe were last year going in.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm going to quickly have to ask you one more question, Pat. Looking at the West, SEC West, of course, LSU lost 16 players, but I think they've recruited well and they've had a lot of good depth. They're going to be a good football team, no question about it. And you got Alabama, and I'll tell you, at some point, it may not be with Kellen Bonds, but at some point, if he ever gets a real top-flight quarterback out there, I think the Texas A&M is a football team that they got everything going for them, and they're going to have to contend with them out there. But how do you see the West?
Well, I think everybody's going to pick Alabama, and mainly because of what LSU lost. It wasn't just all those great players and their great quarterback. It was, their offensive coordinator, not their offensive coordinator, but their the guy behind that offense in Joe Brady, and then you lose Dave Aranda as well. And you don't have the time to work things out the way you didn't have a spring football practice. So I don't think anybody's going to pick LSU to win. There's some people that are high on Auburn. I'm not one of them. I mean, I still don't really trust that team and that coaching staff. Bo Nix was a freshman who it was great for him to get that work. He'll probably make a little bit of a jump this year, but I didn't see anything that was overly impressive with him last year. We'll see how he does this year, but I don't think there's any doubt that Alabama is going to be the overwhelming favorite. Probably, when we go to or when we vote on the All-SEC and who we think is going to win the divisions, I think Georgia and Florida may be almost a split vote. I think Alabama will be overwhelmingly the favorite on the other side, and I think a lot of people, and I'm included, may have Alabama number one in their preseason AP poll because I think Nick Saban's angry. He's mad. He's going to get things done. He's going to get things changed, and you would like a guy who is that good of a coach when you're dealing with an adverse situation. Like I said, it's not going to be an ideal situation for any coach. And the ones you trust, to me, are the ones that are going to have the most success.
That's a great point. Listen, Pat, I thank you so much. I'm not going to keep you any longer. I thank you for your time and look forward to seeing you again at some point.
All right, Kay, we'll see you, buddy.
Thank you.
That's Pat Dooley right there. We appreciate Pat Dooley joining us right here on Talk Football with Coach K. Of course, for those that don't know Pat Dooley, like I said, shame on you. But if you're a Florida Gator fan, you definitely know. Look, a writer for the Gainesville Sun, Gatorsports.com as well. He has been around the block, and it's great to hear from him, great to hear the insight that he has as well. And he brings some truth to the table. Look, we had Tony Barnhart on the show earlier in the week. Really great to hear from Pat there. And remember, he's got a couple books out too. If you're a Florida Gator fan, you know. But I'm telling you, 100 Things Florida Fans Should Know Before They Die, a really great book. I know it was written a few years ago, but really great book. Listen, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, Ohio State. The U came out with, a model that shows how they can have some team or some fans in the stands, up to 20,000 fans with the limitations that they have right now. And then, of course, I said this yesterday, it's been nice not having Dak Prescott in the news every single day. Well, now some contract information has leaked. Whether it's true or not, we'll talk about that, as well as ranking some more teams, listen, on their NFL off seasons that they had this year. Of course, post-draft and post-free agency. We'll talk more about that right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
It is the veteran, not the preacher, who has given us the freedom of religion.
It's the veteran, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote.
It is the veteran, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech.
The veteran, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to assemble.
It is the veteran, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press.
It is the veteran, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial.
We should all be very proud of our young men and women in the service, no matter where they serve. Thank you.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones Jr.
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
What's up, Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, no sports to talk about. March Madness canceled, every major sport, so maybe you get to spend some more time around your family. Oh, what? Not supposed to touch anybody? Well, just go home and watch Price is Right. But if you are older, you have a better chance of getting it. Right, Mike Gundy? Oh, 40? You should be all right. And he won't be broadcasting sports, but one guy that feels the same way we all do with no sports, probably Joe Buck.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Sports Drive 5 to 7 with no sports.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. We appreciate Pat Dooley joining us on the show a few minutes ago. Great to hear from him, Coach. But before we move on, what you heard from Pat Dooley was what a lot of we expected. We got some positive signs, but also the thing that comes to reality of we have to understand is this year is going to be as different as they come. But it's something that's the new norm is almost weird now, so that's just something we're just going to have to accept.
Yeah, and I think, Pat, as well as Paul Feinbaum and any of the other sports reporters and media, I think they have to be cautious and cover all their bases so that they don't go too far. They don't want to be too optimistic and have something happen So I think they have to cover themselves and say, hey, it may not happen this way. And it may not. There's always that possibility. But I think it's doubtful. I think we're going to have football, and it will evolve back into as near as what we would expect it to be. But I think that certainly we're going to have it on television. And the other thing that we got to be concerned about a little bit, I think, JP, would be the schedule. We've talked about in the event of certain governments, meaning governors or the people who run the schools, stating that they are forcing them to give up on certain parts of the schedule or whatever. So that could change a few things around. But otherwise, I think we're going to have as near normal as can be expected.
Right. I agree. I think it's they do have to be careful. But one thing, Coach, when you talk about the new normal here, look, we've talked about maybe, and look, my opinion on this, and once again, it's my pure opinion, Coach, we've talked about this. I don't believe there'll be fans to start off with. I think as we go throughout the season, maybe we'll start to see some fans. But I think this is important. Now, this is, for people saying, well, this is a money grab type issue for Ohio State. I think it's important because this is coming out of a place like Ohio State up in the north there. And look, Ohio State they showed potential for 20 to 50,000 fans. Now, before people gasp at that, 50,000 is if things get really lenient in this. That's what Gene Smith, the athletic director there, wanted to make very clear. He said, listen, our stadium can hold a little over 100,000 people. So the crowd that we said with the current conditions we have now could hold up to 22,000 fans. And now of course, look, the Miami Dolphins did something similar to this. Their stadium, Hard Rock Stadium, can hold 65,000. They said we could have up to 15,000 people. A lot of people coming up with models and getting interesting. And look, this doesn't mean it's going to happen. This is something they're running through, of being able to continue to practice social distancing and things like this, to have up to 20,000 or 22,000 fans. Coach, my question to you on this is look, Ohio State did this. We've seen other teams do this, like the Dolphins as well in the NFL. Do you see this being realistic this year? And what I mean by that is in current conditions, because 20,000 is in the current conditions we have. Now, I'm not saying tailgating and all this other stuff. I'm not talking about that. But do you see the realistic possibility with everything going on right now, that we could have 22,000 people in the stands come football season?
I think so. You could have a scaled up, scaled down, and then moving up as conditions prove favorable. But certainly, you could give a 100,000 seat stadium. You could put 22,000 people in social distancing positions of seats in the stadium by avoiding rows and other maneuvers. So I think it could happen. And I think they'll probably, if you have no problems, they'll probably up that as you go along. But they have to cut the losses as much as they possibly can. So if they can have 22,000, let's say at Ohio State, put 22,000 in there, that would be in addition to television. Now, Pat was right about television being most of their revenue, but colleges depend more on ticket sales than does the National Football League. So if they could just minimize, at least cut the losses to some extent, then I think that would be an exercise worth doing.
Yeah, and for people out there talking about everything going involved in this, and look, I read message boards, and whether that's a mistake or not, I just want to know what people think reacting to certain things. You get a lot of interesting information, and you can't make everybody happy, but people talking about anything from concessions, and look, it's in the bathroom situation. There's no perfect answer to this. There's not going to be a perfect answer. What it comes down to is, listen, if you're worried about it, then don't go. And look, you know that these places are not – they want to continue to have fans in the stands, so there's going to be a lot of protocol to follow. It's going to take a lot longer to get into the football game and out of the football game. Whether you leave and it's row by row or whatever they have to do, that they'll do it at this point, being able to get fans in the stands. And if you're talking about concession stands, you can have packaged meals. You can have, you already talk about hamburgers and hot dogs or whatever like that. You don't sell the nachos that are open and can be touched or whatever. You don't sell the regular fountain drinks. You sell bottles. There's so many different ways to get around this. And, Coach, I think it's important what you said there, too, is, listen, for teams, they're trying to recoup as much lost income as they can. And, look, it's not 100,000 people. It's not what they would make when it comes down to Ohio State packing out that stadium. But every little bit helps this year because you got to get past this year until we can move on to figure out where do we go next, where, whether it's we're waiting on a vaccine or whatever it may be, and we're continuing to think. The important thing, once again, that I continue to say on this, and, Coach, I know you've said this as well, we're learning each and every day about this virus. Some people are saying now, doctors have come out, that once you get it the first time, if you test positive the second time, you don't really pass it on to anybody. It's just it's in your system, and that's about it. So, we're hearing stuff like this. I'm not saying that's full truth or not. I'm saying that's what's coming out now. And that's more important just to make sure that people understand we're just learning about this. Everybody's learning at the same pace. So, look, hearing Ohio State come out with the 20,000, I think it's a positive sign because they're also in a spot that's been very hesitant on opening up and things like that. And if they're able to do this, that's a great move forward. But, Coach, I do want to talk about this before we go to break here. Look, Dak Prescott, it's been interesting enough. Look, we haven't talked about him in, well, it seems like a while now. It's a few days, seems like weeks at this point. But, Coach, of course, the rumors are coming out now that he's been offered a 5-year, $175 million offer. Now, not sure whether this is truth or not. This is coming. Look, Chris Sims talked about this with Pro Football Talk. But Dak wants somewhere north of $45 million in that fifth year. Now, the Cowboys are okay with offering him $34 million in those 4 years and intentionally 5 years. But regardless, Dak wants in that fifth year. If you want me to sign that fifth year, Dak is basically, from what we're hearing, saying, I want north of $45 million. Coach, when you look at Dak Prescott right now, this to me, if this is true, which it would make a lot of sense is what's going on right now, I'm not going to say whether it's true or not. This is what's come out. But this $45 million in your fifth year to sign a quarterback there, this deal to me seems like if that's the case, this really may not get done.
Yeah, I think it's, I have said before, and I believe this to be true, the Joneses, Jerry and his son, I don't think they're settled on Dak Prescott being the quarterback of the future for the Dallas Cowboys. I really believe that they have some doubts. They're in a bad situation right now, because they do have a good football team, and they've improved their football team, and they just need to make sure that the quarterback position is one that they can win with. Now, I truly believe that they did a brilliant move in bringing the quarterback in there from Cincinnati. I think that was a brilliant move, and I think he could win for them if they have to go with him. And I think they would probably be content to go with him if something does not develop with Dak Prescott. I think there's too much money on the table. I think they feel there's too much money being offered to a guy who they don't believe is going to be their quarterback of the future. It's kind of a contract that you would want to give to a surefire young quarterback that you know is going to be there. So I don't know. I think they're between right now.
Yeah, I would agree. That's, like I said, I'm not going to say we don't know if it's true or not. That's what's come out right now. But, that's big time. Of course, Dak wanting that kind of money, Coach, you've mentioned it, like you said. You're not sure what, if they truly feel that he is the guy now. With Andy Dalton, look, and like you said, the Cowboys are just sitting back at this point saying, well, take it or leave it. I mean, if it doesn't get done, it's not like they have Cooper Rush as their backup anymore. They went and got an absolute steal getting Andy Dalton. And I think that could be the move that makes the Cowboys just look like geniuses when it's all said and done if they don't sign Prescott, because even Andy Dalton is a guy that I believe can take them to the playoffs. People may scoff at that, but look at Andy Dalton, go back, and I know it was a few years ago, but look when he had talent around him, like a good team. Now, I'm not just talking about wide receivers, a good team around him, and he took them to the playoffs, and they weren't that good. They were a little over mediocre. I'm sorry for people that want to say, well, no, they weren't. It comes down to Marvin Lewis and that squad. They just weren't that good. And with Dallas, with the weapons that he has around him, look, Andy Dalton has never had anybody like this when you're talking about how loaded they are on offense. And the defense will be good enough. And they're in a division right now that is anybody's. It is up for the taking. So, look, this is an interesting move here. It's going to be, look, Dak still has till July 15th to sign the tag here, or the Cowboys have already said they're not going to pull the tag. So either he plays 1 year on the tag or he doesn't play at all, really, at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, though. I want to make that very clear. Just remember, Andy Dalton is still lying in the weeds there, and he's okay with being a backup quarterback. But you're telling me that he's going to lead the Cowboys to the playoffs if Dak doesn't sign? I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. But Coach, we're up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more, ranking the NFL offseasons for a couple of these teams, and we're also going to talk about our sleeper team in the NFL to watch out for this year. All that and more coming back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
If you are a collector, investor, or just an avid sports fan, then listen up. Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles in Gulf Breeze has one of the largest sports memorabilia collections in the area, with new inventory arriving weekly. If Hot Wheels is your thing, they have that too, with old, new, and special edition models to choose from. At Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles, you can buy, sell, or trade. Located on Highway 98 in Gulf Breeze, Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles is the place to go to collect either for fun or to invest for profits.
It's probably going to be a hot summer. Is your air conditioning system ready? Air Care Wizard is here to help. Whether you need routine maintenance before the season really kicks in, or if you need to replace your system, they also install the Roam Halo Induct Air Purifiers, which uses ultraviolet lights and peroxide to help keep the air in your home clean and to help eliminate viruses. Call Air Care Wizard today, 471-9400. At Air Care Wizard, they care about your air.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
The latest sports news is at ESPNpensacola.com and on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola. Plus, watch Chad Brillante, Coach K, and Sports Call live on our exclusive YouTube channel, ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Thursday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. We're talking some football with you. And once again, thank Pat Dooley for coming on the show with us. Awesome to hear from him. But, Coach, we're going to get back into some NFL stuff here. We've talked a lot about college, but, look, we've been talking about some of the ranking some of these teams in the NFL for their off seasons, from free agency to re-signing guys, from the draft, whatever it may be. And a team that's on the list here, of course, the Indianapolis Colts. And I think we both agree this is a team that's had a fantastic offseason. As much as as a Titans fan, I hate to say it, I think this could possibly be the team right now to beat. I think it is the team to beat in the division. But when you talk about adding Phillip Rivers, look, they already had Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor, or they Nyheim Hines. They add Jonathan Taylor, which to me, just one of the most special backs in college football. And I think he is going to be great for that team as well. So they've got a four-headed monster if you want to talk about Jordan Wilkins out of the backfield as well. But they already had T.Y. Hilton. We knew that. We knew that T.Y., look, has gone through some injuries, but he needed some help. And, look, they've had some no-name guys in there. Sorry, Zach Pascal. But they drafted Michael Pittman Jr., the big receiver out of USC right there. They've got Paris Campbell coming back. This guy is as fast as they come. He's got Tyreek Hill type speed. And I'm telling you, Coach, when you look at this, not only that, we forget is they made the trade for the first round there to get DeForest Buckner from the 49ers. That shores up that defensive line. I mean, they all around, Coach, this is a team that was so close. And to me, even last year, I think they were a quarterback away from going to the playoffs. Now you add Phillip Rivers into the mix, which I think a lot like, look, Tom Brady going to the Bucs. I think Phillip Rivers will play younger this year. He's back with his old coaches that he had with the Chargers. And you know Frank Reich and that squad they are chomping at the bit to get to the facilities there and get going. And not to mention, listen, I think just a good move in the later rounds there to draft Jacob Eason for the future, because Phillip Rivers, look, Frank Reich has come out and said that he could see Phillip Rivers being there for 2 years. So this is a team, Coach, I think with the Colts, and that coaching staff is what puts them over the top here. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I've said before, I really like Indianapolis, the Indianapolis draft. I like the move to get Buckner there. That certainly solidifies their defensive front, and they were pretty salty there anyway. And they've got a good defense. They've got maybe the best offensive line. I would take their offensive line over Dallas's. So let's put it that way. I think they have the best offensive line in football, and they've certainly helped from a talent standpoint. And it's going to be you hit it on the head about Paris Campbell. I think it's going to be a bonanza getting him back healthy this year. But that speed he's got, unbelievable. That'll help. For example, T.Y. Hilton will be able to play and probably play without as much pain as he has in the past. And good draft choice there. And Rivers is going to play well. Listen, they probably couldn't have a better quarterback other than Brady coming in to move that football team from the quarterback position. He's going to take advantage of the talent that they have there. They're going to be able to protect him. He had no protection last year at San Diego. At Los Angeles. I think he's going to be. This is, to me, one of the top two moves all season. Has been is the coach. I really feel that way.
Yeah, I would say so. And, Coach, real quick here, the other team on the list here, the Arizona Cardinals, a lot of people buying into this Cardinals squad. Now, Cliff Kingsbury, they played some tough games last year, some really close games. I believe 5 games within a touchdown. But, Kyler Murray's a good-looking little quarterback. Not sure how it'll work out. But adding DeAndre Hopkins, along with Larry Fitzgerald, who I believe will play until he's probably 70 years old, it seems. Christian Kirk out there, great guys. you add a bunch of weapons out there, and then remember they got Isaiah Simmons, and that defense was not very good last year, but adding Isaiah Simmons I think will be important. Coach, my question to you real quick is, are you buying into the Arizona Cardinals this year?
Oh, I think they helped themselves, no doubt about it. I think Simmons was an outstanding pick. I think you better know what you're doing with him, and especially his first year, and make sure he's not confused. But he can do a number of different things for you, and they've helped themselves, no doubt about it. And they're going to be not a contending football team, I don't think, but they're going to give a lot of people trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think that division's tough enough as it is, but they'll be a lot better, vastly improved, and it will be interesting to see what they do with Isaiah Simmons. But Coach, we had a great show. Of course, that sound it's time to go for us. We can get to everything, but we'll give it a shot tomorrow. But it's been a pleasure, Coach.
You bet. Look forward to tomorrow, JP.
Absolutely, Coach. Appreciate it. We appreciate our listeners tuning in today. We'll be back tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
First Take, your take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 80, and ESPN News. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Jason Fitz. Let's start the hour with some headlines. Got to have them. Oh, you've been wondering what the next Last Dance was going to be. That's the world we live in. You can't even appreciate the Last Dance anymore. You got to go straight to what's going to be next. Well, fear not, I have an answer for you. Oh, you ready for the next one? I said I wanted a behind-the-scenes look at Brady, right? Looks like we're going to get it. Tom Brady's journey to each of his 9 Super Bowls with the Patriots will be the subject of an ESPN series released next year. It's going to be called The Man in the Arena, Tom Brady. It's a 9-episode series that will include a look from Brady's perspective at the 6 NFL titles and 3 Super Bowl defeats he was part of. Going to be a behind-the-scenes rare look, obviously. Deja vu all over again. It will be co-produced by Tom Brady's production company. So, a little involvement there. But I'm just saying, at least we now have something to look forward to as we figure out what the next Last Dance will be. Next up on your headlines, Adam Scott will not return to the PGA Tour until July. He returned to his home in Australia after the PGA Tour canceled the Players' Championship because of coronavirus. And despite the tour's planned start for next month, he's going to stay away a little bit longer. Scott won the Genesis Invitational earlier this year, but he told the Australian Associated Press that he plans to sit out the first 7 tournaments. Not quite comfortable yet with the guidelines that were put forth by the tour last week, so he will stay away. And some big news for Vanderbilt down in my home city of Nashville. Vandy making a little bit of history. Vanderbilt has hired Candace Lee as its athletic director, making her the first female athletic director and the first African-American woman to lead an SEC athletic department. So Vanderbilt ties that opening up, and they get themselves in the history books in the process with what I'm sure will be a fantastic hire. Those are the headlines you need. First Take, your take on ESPN Radio. I'm Jason Fitz. We're asking you guys to chime in. How should the NBA return? 888-SAY-ESPN. If you're not a fan of having to spell the little things, it's 888-729-3776. 729-3776. That's how you get in on the fun. We're asking you how the NBA should return. Dewante, I think I'm saying that right. Dewante, what do you got? What's your plan on how the NBA should return?
I think we should do it based on strength of schedule and also their opponent's strength of schedule, and probably seed the teams like that and all the advanced stats like points per game, assists per game, like point differential and things of that nature, and not just do it just seeding the way we're doing it like this. Maybe we do it something like that. Maybe we'll actually get more and more people interested in watching the playoffs.
No, look, I mean, anything that makes it interesting, I'm all in for. I'm still in love with this March Madness idea. We spent the whole break breaking down the March Madness concept on how we could continue the March Madness talk. Eric in Tennessee, what's your thought on how the NBA could return?
Excuse me. Sorry. Good afternoon. I hope it's not complicated, but the basic gist of it is that each conference has 3 divisions. Each division has 5 teams. So the way you go is a team's current division standing, they get a certain amount of points. You play everyone within your division twice. And kind of like how you do round robin in the World Cup, you get a certain amount of points for a win. But let's say, for example, Milwaukee, since they were winning, they had 15 points. The team in second place has 10, so it'd be very difficult for a team to catch Milwaukee. And then after that,